girl of ancient civilization. Book 1 of the Elanari Tales. Brought to you by Ashenheart. Chapter 7. What She Carries. The hour before true dawn was the coldest. Asha slept near the rebuilt fire, curled on her side with her arms tucked against her chest and her face slack and young. The flames had burned low again, and her breath came in soft, even clouds. Kael sat at his post. The trace step runes hummed their twin notes, steady, undisturbed. The men outside hadn't approached since the climbing attempt. He should have been thinking about tactics, escape routes, the odds of holding the fort another day. Instead, he was thinking about a room with 2 cups on a table and a door that wouldn't open. Lira appeared beside him. She did that. She was carrying her cloak over one arm, her thin frame visible in the gray light. She sat next to him, cross-legged, hands on her knees, her face turned toward the corridor entrance where the first light was seeping in. She didn't speak for a while, just sat.
She's asleep.
I know.
I want to show you something.
He looked at her. Her face was calm, deliberate.
Show me,
he said. She pulled up her left sleeve, slowly. He'd seen glimpses before, never still, never offered. Her forearm was pale, thin, the blue trace of veins visible beneath the skin, woven through them, lines, dense, fine, spiraling, overlapping and interlocking, under the skin. The inscriptions were intricate beyond anything he'd seen. The military runes on the fort's walls were scratches in dirt next to this. He felt the weight of it pressing against his awareness.
Touch them.
Lira said. He hesitated.
It's all right.
She said.
I'm asking.
He reached out, placed 2 fingers against the inside of her forearm, gently. Heat, deeper than skin. A vibration, low and steady, settling behind his sternum. The inscriptions shifted under his touch. He pulled his hand back. The vibration lingered in his fingers.
That's your arm,
he said. His voice was rougher than he intended.
Show me the rest.
She pulled the sleeve higher, past the elbow, past the bicep. The inscriptions continued, densening, layering. By the shoulder, the lines were so tightly packed they pulsed with their own faint light. They disappeared beneath the collar of her shirt, and he understood without asking that they continued everywhere.
It's all over.
She said.
Arms, legs, chest, back.
She paused.
Bones.
You feel them in your bones.
They are my bones. Or they're on them. I don't know the difference anymore.
Kael stared at the inscriptions. He knew runic work, field inscriptions, military-grade fortress walls. What was on Lira's arm was a different order.
This is weapons class,
he said.
Siege grade. I've seen fortress walls with less inscription than your forearm.
I know.
Who did this?
She was quiet for a moment. Her dark eyes went somewhere else, somewhere behind them, inside. When she came back, her voice was careful.
Nobody did. They came with me.
She paused.
The first time I remember seeing them, I was 3, smaller, less. They grew.
Grew.
They keep growing. New lines surface when, I don't know. When something inside the bone wakes up, old, patient, like roots.
Did it hurt?
There wasn't pain, there was pressure, inside the bone. The first time a line came up through the skin, I was 4. Nobody knew what to do.
The hall was quiet. The fire cracked softly. Asha's breathing was steady across the room.
Where did you come from?
He asked.
I don't know. The ledger found me. They had scholars look at the marks. The scholars said the language was older than any inscription still in use, older than the compact, older than the Dominion. They said the people who wrote it hadn't existed for 1,000 years.
She watched her own arm.
Then soldiers took me to a safe house. Then Commander Drell sent you.
What happens when they activate?
He asked.
The inscriptions, when they glow.
I don't control it. It happens when
She searched for the word.
the pressure is too much. When something pushes from outside and the inscriptions push back.
Like when the men were close. During the night.
Yes, they flicker.
She looked at her own arm. The inscriptions were still now, faint, dormant, pale lines under pale skin.
I've never let them go all the way. I'm afraid of what happens if I do.
She looked at him.
Because the scholars who could read them were afraid. They knew what the language was for. And whatever I was born to be, the ledger was right to be careful with me.
Kael sat with what she told him. Outside, men with swords and patience wanted her. Behind them, someone with more authority pulling the strings. He had 3 flare stones and half a stick of charcoal and a sword with a rune that would burn out in 3 good strikes.
Lira,
Yes,
are you afraid of me?
She blinked. The first time he genuinely surprised her, she tilted her head considering the question.
no,
She said,
you're the least frightening thing in my life.
That's a low bar.
It is.
almost a smile.
But you clear it.
He reached out and pulled her sleeve down, gently, carefully. Her arm was thin and warm under his hand, and the vibration of the inscriptions hummed faintly through the cloth.
Thank you,
He said.
for showing me.
I wanted you to know. In case.
She stopped, started again, choosing different words.
I wanted someone to know who wasn't going to use it against me.
He nodded. He'd had that once. Sound outside. Voices, multiple, from the north. Kael was on his feet, sword in hand. The trace step at the east passage flared in his mind, someone close again, testing. But the voices were new, more than 3. He moved to the gate gap and looked out. The dawn had brightened enough to see the tree line. Figures, moving through the trees at the forest's edge. A group, 5, 6 figures, arriving from the north, carrying packs and weapons. Reinforcements, arriving with the dawn. He watched them merge with the shadows at the north wall. The 3 original pursuers were there too, their familiar displaced breath now joined by new disruptions. He counted the disturbances. 3 original, 5 new, 8. He went back to the hall. Asha was awake now. The voices had woken her. She sat upright by the fire, her eyes wide.
What's happening?
More of them. Reinforcements. 5 more just arrived.
Her face went the color of the stone behind her. Lira sat in her corner. Her sleeve was down, the inscriptions hidden.
How many total?
She asked.
8. Against me.
Against us.
Lira said. He looked at her, 10 years old.
Against us.
He said. Chapter 8. The Second Wave. They came with the sun. Kael felt them before he heard them, a shift in the air around the fort, the displacement of 8 bodies moving into positions. The birds went quiet. The wind fell still. He was at the main corridor entrance, sword drawn, edge binding humming along the blade. His ribs ached. His shoulder was stiff but functional.
How many?
Lira asked. She was in the upper corridor, crouched at the rail where she could see both entrances. He'd put her there at dawn, high ground, good sight lines, out of the fighting.
All of them.
Asha sat against the back wall, knees drawn to her chest, face white. Her eyes moved between the 2 entrances.
What do I do?
Stay behind the well. Stay low. Don't move unless I tell you.
She moved. She didn't argue. Her hands were shaking. The first wave came from 2 directions. 3 fighters through the main corridor, moving fast, shields up, swords out. 2 more coming from the east passage. They'd cleared the rubble in the night, stone by stone, silent enough that the trace step hadn't triggered until they were already through. Kael felt the east passage flare. 2 bodies, moving fast. The main corridor was the choke point. The east passage was narrower, 1 at a time. He went for the corridor. The first fighter came through at a run. Kael met him in the doorway where the space was too narrow for fancy footwork. The man had a shield, round, wooden, leather-faced. Kael's edge-bound blade bit into it and stuck. He abandoned the angle, kicked the shield into the man's face, and drove his sword through the gap between shield and shoulder. The man dropped. The second was already stepping over him. This one was smarter. He came in low, using the body as cover, his sword probing for Kael's legs. Kael gave ground, drawing the man into the low corridor. The air told him something. A current from the left, the east passage. The two fighters there were through the rubble and into the hall.
Lira. East passage. Two coming through.
From above, Lira's voice, sharp and immediate.
I see them.
He heard it, the crack and scrape of stone on stone. Lira was pulling rubble from the upper corridor rail, shoving loose masonry over the edge. A crash below. A curse. Deep, male, pained. He couldn't look. The man in front of him was pressing. A feint high, a thrust low. Kael parried the thrust and felt his rib wound tear. Fresh pain, bright and liquid. He gritted his teeth and countered. Two quick cuts that drove the fighter back through the corridor entrance. The third fighter from the main corridor tried to flank, came around the left side while his partner held Kael's attention. Kael felt him, the air displacement, the weight of a body moving through space to his left, and turned before the strike arrived. The incoming blade passed through air where his neck had been. He drove his sword into the flanker's thigh, a deep cut that dropped the man to one knee, and turned back to the corridor fighter who was coming again. Edge binding was fading. 2 good strikes left, maybe 1. He used 1. The corridor fighter overextended on a thrust, and Kael's blade found his wrist. The edge binding was too weak for a clean amputation, but the cut opened the tendons. The man's sword clattered to the stone. He stumbled back, cradling his hand, and retreated into the corridor. From the east passage, impacts. Lira was still up there, working the passage into rubble. Then a sound he'd been waiting for. The south wall. Kael heard them hit it, shoulders, maybe a ram, something heavy driven against the weakened section. The stone groaned. Dust sifted from the cracks. The ivy, which had been holding the wall together through sheer botanical stubbornness, tore along the seam. He ran. Through the hall, past the well where Asha crouched with her arms over her head, past the dead fire. He reached the south wall and pressed his hand against the stone. He could feel it through his palm, the vibration of bodies on the other side, 3 of them, hitting the wall in coordinated rhythm. He waited. 1 more hit. 2 more. The wall bulged inward. Cracks raced through the mortar. The ivy snapped. Kael stepped back, planted his feet, and drove his shoulder into the stone. Pain, white, total. But the wall was ready. The mortar cracked. The ivy tore. Gravity did the rest. The wall came down. 10,000 pounds of stone collapsing outward in a roar of dust. Screams, short, cut off. Dust billowed through the gap. Kael stood at the edge, sword up, breathing hard. Through the settling cloud he could see rubble, and beneath it limbs. 2 fighters, at least, caught under the collapse. 1 was moving. 1 wasn't. The third had been further back. He staggered out of the dust, bleeding from the head, disoriented. He saw Kael. He ran. Kael's count, 2 dead or trapped under the south wall. 1 fled. 1 with a severed wrist, retreating. 1 Lira had driven back from the east passage. That left 3 unaccounted for. He found out where they were when a crossbow bolt embedded itself in the doorframe 3 inches from his head. The courtyard. 2 fighters had come over the west wall during the assault, the exposed section he'd noted on his first perimeter walk. They were in the overgrown grass now, 1 with a crossbow, 1 with a short sword, using the well for cover. And the third was behind Kael. He felt the air shift and turned, and the blade was already coming. A short sword aimed at his kidneys from the corridor he'd thought was clear. He couldn't dodge this one. His body was too slow, too depleted. The blade caught his left thigh, a deep, burning cut that opened the muscle and sent him staggering sideways. His leg buckled. He caught himself on the wall and swung blind, and his sword found the attacker's face. The man went down. Kael went to one knee. Blood ran down his thigh and pooled in his boot. 3 wounds now. He reached into his belt pouch, found a flare stone. The 2 fighters in the courtyard were advancing. The crossbowman was reloading, a professional 15-second reload practiced fast. The swordsman was circling toward the corridor. Kael threw the flare stone. It arced over the well and hit the ground between them. The detonation was white and total, 3 seconds of white fire in the courtyard. The crossbowman screamed. The swordsman threw up his arms and stumbled backward, blinded. Kael didn't advance. He couldn't. The leg wound had taken his mobility. He retreated to the main hall, dragging his left leg, and braced himself at the corridor entrance. Silence. Then, slowly, sounds of retreat, boots on rubble. Voices, low, angry, pained. The sound of men pulling wounded men out of the dust. Kael slid down the wall and sat on the stone floor, his leg bleeding freely, his ribs reopened. The edge binding on his sword was ash-gray, dead. 2 flare stones left. The charcoal was half gone. From the upper corridor, Lira's voice.
Are they gone?
For now.
She appeared at the rail, dust on her face from the rubble she'd thrown. Her eyes found his leg, the fresh blood, the dark stains spreading.
You're hurt.
She said.
I know.
Worse than before.
I know that too.
She came down the crumbling stairs and knelt beside him. Her hands went to his thigh, small, steady. Her sleeve rode up as she worked. In the dim hall, the inscriptions flickered once beneath her skin. She pulled her sleeve down quickly. He pretended not to notice. Asha emerged from behind the well. She was pale, shaking, but unharmed. She looked at Kael on the floor, at Lira kneeling beside him with those steady hands.
Oh God.
She whispered.
Oh God. Is he?
He's alive.
Lira said.
Help me with the bandage.
They worked on him together. 2 pairs of hands. One warm and trembling, one small and still. Kael sat against the wall and looked at the corridor entrance, where sunlight was pouring through the dust of the collapsed south wall. The fighters would be back. The question was what they'd bring with them. Chapter 9. The Taking. Silence settled over the fort. The south wall was gone, a gap of rubble and dust where solid stone had been. The east passage was choked with debris. The main corridor was streaked with blood that wasn't all Kael's. He sat against the wall, sword on the floor beside him, legs stretched out, thigh wrapped in strips torn from Asha's shirt. The bandage was already darkening. Lira had bound it tight, but the damage was structural. The muscle was cut. He could walk, couldn't run. 3 wounds. Asha sat near the dead fire, her arms wrapped around herself, rocking slightly. She hadn't spoken since the battle ended. Her face was pale and her eyes were somewhere else. Lira sat beside Kael, close, her shoulder almost touching his arm.
How many did we get?
She asked. Kael did the math.
2 under the south wall. 1 with a cut wrist. He won't fight again. 1 I dropped in the corridor. 1 hit in the face.
He paused.
That's 5 down. 3 still functional. Maybe 4 if the wrist man is stubborn.
3 or 4 against us.
Against me. You're not fighting.
I threw rocks.
Rocks aren't fighting.
Tell that to the man I hit.
He looked at her. In the dusty light, with grime on her face and her cloak torn for bandages, she didn't look like the eerily calm child from the Way House anymore. An hour passed. Then 2. The enemy didn't attack. They didn't leave. Kael could feel them. The air told him they were at the north wall, grouped, stationary, waiting, discussing, deciding. Asha got worse. It started as restlessness, then pacing, short, tight circuits, arms crossed, breathing quick and shallow. She kept looking at the gap.
We can't stay here.
She said, the first word she'd spoken in 2 hours. Her voice was thin and high and stretched.
They'll come back with more people. We can't. We have to go.
We can't go.
Kael said,
The south wall is open. The moment we step into that clearing, the crossbowman picks us off.
Then we go at night.
Night is 12 hours away.
Then I don't know. Something. Anything.
She stopped pacing, turned to him. Her eyes were wide and wet.
I didn't sign up for this. I'm not a fighter. I'm not like you. I make bread and I tend goats, and I've never seen anyone die before today, and I can't.
Her voice cracked. She pressed her hands against her mouth and squeezed her eyes shut and stood there, shaking. Kael watched her. His leg was bleeding. His ribs were grinding. Lira watched too, her dark eyes on Asha, steady, unblinking.
Asha, sit down. Breathe. We'll figure it out.
You keep saying that. We'll figure it out. But you're bleeding, and there are men with swords outside, and...
Sit down.
She sat. She breathed. It didn't look like it helped. The afternoon crawled. The sun moved across the gap in the south wall, throwing long shadows. Kael used the time. He redrew the trace step at the east passage, checked his defenses. He checked his pouch. 2 flare stones, charcoal, less than half the stick now. Enough for 2, maybe 3 more runes. Asha was quiet now. She sat near the gap in the south wall, staring out at the forest. Her breathing had slowed. Lira came to sit beside Kael. She didn't speak. She just sat.
When they come back,
Kael said quietly,
I need you in the upper corridor again.
I know.
And if it goes wrong, if I go down, you run. East. Don't stop. Don't look back. Find the road and follow it.
No.
Lira.
I said no.
She looked at him, those dark eyes, holding something decided.
I'm not leaving without you.
He opened his mouth, closed it. The argument was there. Tactical, logical, the cold mathematics of survival that said 1 living person was better than 2 dead ones.
We'll talk about it later,
he said.
We won't,
She said.
because it's not going to happen.
The break came at dusk. A break in the holding. Asha stood up. She was at the gap, looking out at the forest. Her face had changed since the battle, the panic gone, replaced by something flatter.
I have to go.
She said. Kael looked up from the charcoal rune he was drawing on his sword.
Where?
Away. Out. I can't.
She pressed her hands together, fingers interlaced, knuckles white.
Every minute I stay here is a minute closer to dying. I'm not part of this. They don't want me. If I leave, they'll let me through.
You don't know that.
I know they want her.
A glance at Lira, brief, guilty, immediately retracted.
Not me. I'm nothing to them.
Asha, sit down.
No.
Her voice was steady now.
I'm grateful for the water and the shelter and for everything. But I'm not dying here, not for a mission that isn't mine.
She turned to the gap.
Asha, don't.
She ran. Through the gap, over the rubble, out into the fading light. She veered toward the forest where the canopy was thickest. 2 figures intercepted her at the tree line, coming from the east, fast, cutting off her path. Kael's body was already trying to stand, already reaching for the wall to pull himself up, the legs screaming as he put weight on it.
Asha.
Too late. 2 shadows converged on her from the undergrowth, fast, coordinated. Arms grabbed her. She screamed. The scream echoed off the ruins, terrified, high, piercing. Kael's hands tightened on his sword. His damaged leg took a step toward the gap. They dragged her into the trees, into the shadows, her screaming fading as the forest swallowed it. Then silence. Kael stood at the gap, leaning on the stone, breathing through the pain. The forest was dark. He turned. Lira was standing in the hall, her cloak pulled tight, her face unreadable. She didn't say anything. She just looked at Kael.
Are you going after her?
She asked. Kael stood at the gap. His leg was bleeding. 3 wounds, 2 flare stones, half a stick of charcoal. He'd left people before. During the war, in this very fort, it had kept him alive. He looked at Lira.
When do we go?
She said. He almost smiled.
Tonight,
He said.
when it's full dark.
She nodded, pulled her cloak tighter, sat down to wait. The light faded. The fort went dark. Somewhere in the forest, Asha screamed one more time, distant, muffled, raw, and then nothing.
In the pre-dawn grey ere the watchfires fell, she drew back her sleeve in the ruined hall, and the marks upon her slender arm did tremble soft as a moth in thrall.
Not ink, not ash, nor maiden's dye, but carved in bone like the stars above, 1,000 lines in a secret hand, from a people lost and a world ungloved. A library she carries in her bones,
The dead folks' last and dearest hoard.
all they were and all they knew.
And the child is all the world they stored.
A library she carries in her bones.
Everyone that put the marks in me
Was afraid, she said, as the wind came on.
Art thou afraid to touch the child?
Kael, the sellsword, answered,
Nay, not I, not one. Then the horns did cry from the leafless wood,
for the foe had grown from 3 to 8,
and the south wall shook
beneath the coming men, and the broken stones could not hold the gate.
A library she carries in her bones, a dead folks' last and dearest hoard.
All they were and all they knew.
And the child is all the world they stored.
A library she carries in her bones.
He dropped the wall on the charging few,
And the air he knew not ran at his side.
and his blade drew red on the ruined stone.
And the wind moved with him like a hidden tide.
But the snare was set
Where the south wall broke,
and the false maid went
through the dust and smoke.
with a scream so true it tore the wind, and the mercenary's leg gave way beneath.
The library she carries in her bones,
A dead folks' last and dearest hoard.
all they were and all they knew.
And the child is all the world they stored.
A library she carries in her bones. And she looked at him with her steady eyes.
As the cries of the maid grew faint and far,
And she said in a voice as still as stone,
when do we go to the thieves of war? A library she carries in her